Greetings and welcome to the Underground Studio. My name is Sean and this is my studio. I run a small, kind of a part-time thing called Prattsboards. You'll find the link for Prattsboards right there. And what Prattsboards is a custom-made guitar effects pedalboard. Also bass effects pedalboard if you're a bass player. It's all the same thing, right? I am also the guitar player for a band called Lancahsire. You'll find the link for Lancahsire right about there. We have a self-published CD out and we're on Patreon and an indie radio station. And I'm in collaboration with Stephen Lonsdale, my bandmate, who owns Sunlight Studio. You'll find a link for Sunlight Studio right there. And finally, a future project is going to be called The Underground Skeptic. And what that's about is addressing conspiracy theories on why people believe the things that they do. But more on that a little later. For now, Prattsboards. Now, I'm intending to make a video to show you how to set up your Prattsboard. Now, bear in mind that there's no really one correct way to do this. There are accepted standards, but it really is a matter of personal taste. I mean, I can show you how I set up my board as it pertains to Lancashire and how it, affects my personal tastes. If you set up your pedal board wrong, the FBI is not going to come knocking on your door at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, you've got your overdrives before or after your time delays. If the FBI is knocking on your door at 3 in the morning, it's probably for something else. But we'll get into that. We'll get into how to set the board up, how I do it. And so let's get started. And without further ado, I'll see you there. All right, so you've gotten your Prattsboard. And this particular model is my cedar board. It's a brand new model that I just made. And you got a cedar here and a maple strip here, the ever popular Pratt's logo. And of course the top tier opens up and this is where you put your power supplies. It's got a nice little arm here that keeps that up so you can fiddle around and do what you do. Down in there is where your cables run out and come in from. And now I know that I said earlier there is no correct way to set up your board. However, there is a correct way to power your pedals. And what I don't recommend is using any kind of a daisy chain. Now, I'm not picking on any one particular brand, but iSpot makes a daisy chain. And you really don't want to use those because, as the pedals move down the line, they take more and more juice, and some of your pedals aren't going to get what they require. Plus, it introduces noise, and it's just not recommended. So what I do is I use power bricks. I don't endorse any particular one, so bear that in mind. But I use one iSpot. It has a few connections there, and I have also the MXR ISO brick. So I'm going to use these two, and each one of these has its own separate connector. They're all isolated, is what I mean to say. Now, if you'll notice on these, you'll see there's 9 volts, 9 to 12 volts, 200 milliamps, 200 milliamps, 500 milliamps. You want to make sure that you know what the requirements are for your individual pedal. So what I've done is I have a sheet of paper and I wrote down and don't mind the shadow. I wrote down what the power requirements are. For example, the Avalanche Run, 9 volts, 410 milliamps. So what I want to do is use the maximum amount of milliamps. So on the ISO brick, I believe 450 is the maximum. I can use that. On the iSpot, 500 is the maximum. So what I'll probably do is plug the Avalanche Run into the 500. It's very important that you know what the power requirements are so that your board functions properly. Okay, so let's see if we can put all these pedals onto this board, and I'll show you as we go along what we do. Okay, so let's before we start the board, let's make sure we have everything we need. We got a pile of pedals. We got, this is the power brick for the ISO. We have our Velcro, DC cables, more DC cables, power plug, and of course our patch cables. So normally what I do is I use industrial strength Velcro for my stuff, and I don't use a whole lot of it because you can pick the whole pedal board up by one pedal with this stuff. So we're going to put the power supplies in first. Don't mind my finger there. I'm using a cell phone here to capture some of this. Now, the idea is we should test fit this stuff first, just to make sure everything fits. All right, so we're going to test fit everything. We'll make sure everything fits. And what you want to do, what I like to do anyway, is I'm going to run the cable in the back through here, make sure it fits, and it does. The idea is we don't want anything that causes the cables to kink, and make sure everything's nice and loose. You know, we're just gonna, there we go. It's gonna test fit that. I mean, you don't want any sharp bends in your cables because it'll, you know, cause your cables to wear out. And this is the power supply for the ISO. And that plugs into the back of there. Okay, that should be good right about there. Let's make sure everything closes up nice. Alright, good. So we know that fits. So the next thing we want to do is attach our Velcro. So we'll unplug this, break out the old Velcro. Now I already have, no I don't, I took it off, how about that? So we'll put the Velcro on here. Like I said, not a lot of it. Let me break out our handy dandy scissors. Like I said, I generally don't use a whole patch for each one. I'll cut it maybe, let's see, we want this side facing out so we can access everything, and to plug in the back. So I might cut this in half and put one there and one there. So we cut that. And actually probably only one would work, because it's not gonna, you know this is industrial strength stuff. It's not gonna go anywhere. So you know, the less you use, the more you can, this stuff you can use for other boards or for other pedals. So we cut that about the same size. And you peel the back off. I usually put it down like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug this up first. And kind of position it where I want it. I'm going to say right about there, so it sticks to the board. There we go. There, that's stuck to the board. And of course we do the same thing for that one. We'll plug our eye spot in. And that should go right about there. We want to make sure that we leave enough room for this to come down, and it clears this. Good. So now we have nice access to the front of our panels. And again, when we're hooking up pedals, you want to make sure that, you know, your DC cable goes into the right outlet for the right pedal, you know, matching the power requirements. So normally, now what I like to do is, before I start cutting Velcro and putting everything in, I'm not going to, you know, go through cutting all this stuff and mounting all this stuff. What we'll do is I'll put this down and we'll just place the pedals where I would like them to go. Sometimes you have to rearrange a little bit, so you place them first. My volume / wah pedal, my Morley, that would probably go right about here. Now how I arrange things is this or a tuner goes up front. So what I'll probably do is I might run the tuner first. So tuner, volume. Next in line would be any compression. You generally want the compression up first because this helps to help sustain your signal. So I use this one all the time, so I don't really need to access it a lot, so I usually put that like up here. A boost pedal, these little guys are great. You know, if you can have a bunch of these, you can get a whole lot more on here. So the spark, that can go, you know, that can go. I might rearrange these, but usually it's the, you know, this is the way I do it. Next, of course, would be your dirt pedals, overdrives, and the metal zone overdrive. Next would be, after this would be an EQ, so you can EQ your tones here, and then your time-based pedals. Flanger. I really don't like this flanger. I'll probably wind up getting rid of this and getting something smaller like this. I think Moore makes something called Electric Lady. I might try that out. So that would go there. Actually, I could probably move that up just to conserve real estate. And then a delay. AMXR delay. After that, I generally run my Fathom. This is a multifunction reverb. A chorus effect. And lastly, my Avalanche Run. Now this is a stereo, so I have a stereo set up. I run 2 amps. Let me just move the camera first. So I'll show you. The Avalanche Run would run, don't mind my foot, run into the Black Star and the fender on the lower left corner there. Okay, so this is basically how I would set it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go through and put Velcro on all of these for you guys to watch, because that's just redundant. You know how that works. I'll run the cables to the proper places. I might do one. I'll run the cables to the proper places, and then you tie them up nice and neatly with these wraps. And then the board should be pretty much ready for service. When it's done, we'll come back and I'll show you. Okay, so we've got the board all set up, all loaded up. We have our power supplies. Each connection runs to its proper pedal, the correct milliamp. So we know that all the pedals are getting what they should be getting. So let's close this up and talk about what we've got. Okay, guitar pedal boards run from right to left. So the guitar runs, don't mind my finger, runs right into the volume wah pedal. From there we go right to the tuner. From the tuner to our compressor. All right, now after the compressor is where your overdrives and dirt pedals and boosts start to come in. So we have a boost that kind of boosts the signals up. We have an overdrive and the distortion pedal, and all that gets EQ'd. Now there's a couple of ways to do this. From this point, from the wah pedal up to the tuner, compressor, boost, dup, 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 this can go right to the front of the amp. Okay, and all your time delays, the flanger, the delay, the multifunction reverb, chorus, and avalanche run can run through the effects loop in the back of your amp. If you don't have an effects loop, you can run everything to the front. So on my board, I do have an effects loop, but I don't run through the effects loop. I run everything through the front end. Whether that's right or wrong, that's a personal choice. So after the EQ, I run right to the flanger, goes to the carbon copy delay. From there, right to my Fathom multifunction reverb, the chorus, and the avalanche run. Now, the avalanche run is stereo, so this is where I run both amps, and I have them color coded so I know which amp they go to. Makes life easier for me. So the blue one here goes to my Blackstar TVP 260. That's 2 12-inch 60 watts per channel. And then the white one goes to my Fender Frontman 25 amp. And that's basically it. So that's the board, all loaded up. I hope you found this video somewhat useful. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.